Just checking the audio for the live stream, thanks.
Are we, is our streaming working already, or are we still waiting? Okay. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to our regular council meeting for June 22nd, 2026. As we call the meeting to order, we'd just like to acknowledge that the land on which we gather is the traditional territories of the Coast and Strait Salish people. Specifically, we recognize the Lekwungen-speaking people known today as the Songhees and the Esquimalt nations, and how their historic connections to these lands and adjoining waters continue to this day. First order of business is approval of the agenda. Moved, seconded. The only pieces we do have, one piece under new business that's going to be coming up, but that doesn't change the agenda package. And there will be a rise and report, which we'll just read into the record today. So moved and seconded. All those in favor? Any opposed? Not opposed. We have many minutes. So we have 5 sets of minutes. I'll allow people to move all 5. Moved. Is there a seconder? Seconded. Are there changes, corrections, or amendments on any of those 5? I just want to welcome Councillors Watson and Smart, who are not available to come into the chamber today, which is probably a good thing because it's rather warm in here this evening, but are joining us online. Seeing no hands for amendments, I'm going to call the question. All those in favor? Any opposed? None opposed. Then motion to receive those 3 minutes from other bodies. Moved and seconded. All those in favor? Any opposed? None opposed. We do have a rise and report from the in-camera today. I'm going to turn to Ms. Anderson to read that into the record, if that's all right.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. The rise and report from the in-camera council meeting held June 22nd, 2026 is council has considered the proponent's written responses to the marina operator request for expressions of interest and have directed staff to seek additional information from Oak Bay Marine Group and Hamasung Holdings.
Thank you for that. We now move to Mayor's remarks. First up, and probably the least pleasant, is the reminder that property taxes are due on July 2nd, so make sure that those get in. I did have the pleasure of attending the Oak Bay High graduation ceremony, which was quite fabulous. My kids are of that age, although none of them graduated this year, but it was just nice to see all those young adults and hearing about all their plans moving into the future. We are really blessed with some pretty amazing kids around here. We also celebrated National Indigenous Peoples Day, and I want to just recognize the Spring Nosh was held last weekend on Saturday. So this is the inaugural event for the Business Improvement Association Oak Bay Avenue event. So it's a celebration of food from up and down the avenue. If you haven't been before, it's worth going to. Also, just of the era, there's actually other thing probably worth mentioning is today there was an all-day transportation planning session, which most of council was able to attend. There was about 90 people attending from across the region, including staff and elected officials, looking at, and it's an expansive look at how transportation planning might be improved, everything from pedestrian through transit, cars, commercial, etc. So it was a very interesting and well-facilitated session and very well attended. And then this is also, now that the house is out at the province, we seem to be having a bunch of feedback sessions, so there's been quite a large number, multiple areas related to policing and modernization of policing, BC Road Safety, Heritage Conservation Act, and healthcare professional recruitment and retention are all some of the ones that are happening in this 1-week period. That concludes my remarks. Just a little update for folks. Moving now to our public comment and question period. So if members of the public, either online or in person, wish to speak to council about items not on the agenda, so we'll get to items on the agenda, open for public input. But with that, anything else is open for respectful discussion. You can ask questions or make comments. We have a hand raised online, Mr. Zelka. If you could show us how it's done, just state your name and municipality of residence, then you have up to 3 minutes.
Well, thank you. First of all, can you hear me?
We can.
Lovely. Well, thank you very much. Appreciate the opportunity for public participation. Let me start by saying God save the King. Let me also welcome everyone to the first or second day of summer, since we're past summer solstice, solstice, excuse me. And I also want to say that I'm grateful to live, work, and play on the traditional and ceded lands of the Lekwungen-speaking people known as Songhees and Esquimalt. I acknowledge the Douglas Treaties of 1850 to 1854, and I also acknowledge the affirmation of these by the Supreme Court of Canada as treaties in 1965. And now I'll begin my remarks. I do note in the minutes today that unfortunately for the comments that I provided with respect to the annual plan at the last council meeting, unfortunately none of my comments were captured in the minutes with respect to section 98, 99 of the community charter. So I'm going to repeat them so that they will at least get into these minutes. So allow me to share a brief summary then of what I spoke with in the past that, as I say, was not captured.
So, Mrs. Elk, if it helps, we do record these and they are available. So people wishing to see the full remarks are available and archived. So.
Excuse me. According to the community charter, these comments are for staff and council. There's not for the public. But I wanted to basically talk to the recreation facility performance. I noted that that is not mentioned in the annual plan. 10 years ago, we had 85% coverage by the gate. In terms of, but today it's only about 55% coverage of the expenses, total expenses of Parks, Rec, and Culture. Please, if that could be in the minutes, and ideally added to a measure for next year's annual plan. I also noted that public access to information is not particularly available for the FOI requests. I noted that there were 19 FOI requests 2 years ago. Most recently, there were 49 requests, which is a terrible trending, indicating that you're not doing a great job with public participation, or at least public access to transparency and information. Ideally, those public FOIs, so those FOIs should be made public and available so that we don't have repetition of people asking for the same thing over and over again, wasting the staff's time and my money. I also asked, and unfortunately the question wasn't very clear, about the state of emergency declaration. You and I got into a back and forth about the declared state of emergency. I'm not talking about a SOLA, which has an expiry date after 14 days when a council declares a state of local emergency. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about the question that I brought up had to do with what is quoted within the official community plan, Objective 7. And I will quote from the official community plan. The District of Oak Bay has declared a climate emergency, et cetera, et cetera. So here's the question that I tried to ask 2 weeks ago. What is the criteria for ending this state of emergency? Obviously, it won't fall under the SOLA, which expires after 14 days. This state of emergency was declared in 2019. And I do note that going back to 2006, 2007, previous councils, previous mayors, and for the former councillor known as Murdoch, I want to say that shout out to you, former councillor Murdoch, now mayor, the wonderful work that you did with respect to helping to get Oak Bay's greenhouse gas emissions down with respect to some of the initiatives you brought forward. In the last report that I saw—
your time is up. If I could just ask you to wrap up your comments.
I will wrap up. In the last report I saw, we are greenhouse gas negative already. We have already achieved our 2050 standards. I'd like to see that in the annual plan, and I'd like to see the Oak Bay declared emergency finished. I don't want anxiety amongst our children. They don't need to have that anxiety. And we should also celebrate the incredible work done by previous councils and by you. Thank you very much. Have a great day.
Thank you very much, Mr. Zelka. Does anybody else wish to speak to council on matters related to municipal business? It's a pretty broad subject of things. I don't see hands in the room or online, so I will come back to this table and we will move to section 8. Section 8 is our committee of the whole recommendations from the meeting held on June 15th. This is really just a motion to receive the report provided there. So
Motion
moved.
to receive.
Yeah, we just moved the committee of the whole recommendation is probably the cleanest language. So moved, seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor? Actually, I think I procedurally got that wrong. It's not to receive this, it's just to move the recommendation as provided at the committee of the whole, correct? Yes, yeah, so we're moving receipt. you were correct in the piece. That was the recommendation coming forward. So moved and seconded. All those in favor? Any opposed? None opposed. And then we have our bylaws and permits. So this section is subject to public input. We will seek any public comments. Just procedurally here, for those not familiar, we typically have staff do an introduction. Council has an opportunity to ask questions of staff. We then go to the public and seek any comments, input, or questions. It comes back to this table, and council can continue with questions, or and we would seek a motion and get direction for next steps. So that's the process. So we'll have staff, questions of council, then an opportunity for public input. We have Mr. Green, our Deputy Director of Community Building and Planning, with us tonight. Welcome. So there we go.
There we go. Just needed turning on. Good evening, Your Worship, members of council. This next item relates to a heritage revitalisation agreement amendment application for the property located at 1587 York Place. The application is to amend a previously approved HRA application that was approved by council on March the 13th of 2025, where council adopted heritage revitalisation agreement bylaw number 4885, and which authorised the revitalisation of the Annandale House, its relocation to the northeast corner of the site, and the subdivision of the lot into 4 parcels, and which was subsequently approved and the lots registered in late 2025. The applicant subsequently submitted an amendment application to revise the HRA, and on April the 27th of this year, council directed staff to bring back an amendment bylaw for council's consideration that would include the following changes to the main original heritage revitalisation agreement bylaw number 4885. Those changes include a revised design for the Annandale House, including removal of the rear wing, reducing the number of dwelling units from 4 to 2, designation of certain interior features, and waiving the requirement for development cost charges and amenity cost charges as per the council's direction from December the 8th of last year. The applicants and the heritage consultant are here to answer any questions that council may have on the application. And I'm also, from staff's perspective, happy to answer any questions that council may have on the application.
Thank you very much, Mr. Green. We have the applicants here in the room, both the applicants and the heritage consultant. Is there anything that the applicant wishes to add to the report that's in front of us? Nope. Okay. Thank you. Any questions? I have Councillor Braithwaite, and then did I see just Councillor Braithwaite at this time?
Thanks so much, Mayor, and through you to staff. I noticed that the part of the house that in question that was cut off has already been removed and demolished, and at least that's what it looks like to me. And I was a little bit surprised because I would have thought that we would have had to wait until this first, second, third reading and had gone forward and had been approved and adopted. Is that not correct, that they didn't have to wait until this happened before they were able to remove that piece of the house?
Mr. Green?
Thank you, Your Worship. Through you to Councillor Braithwaite. Obviously, council adopted a HRA application in 2025 that authorised the relocation of the Annandale House, and through that work, whilst the building is in 2 pieces, the original intent was to move, given the size of the house and its relocation, it had to be moved in 2 pieces, and perhaps the applicant may wish to comment further on how that construction or move was underway, but that agreement already authorised that building to be essentially moved to that northeast part of the site, and it was only when they then started to essentially try and reconstruct that building that they came forward with an amendment application, given a number of changes that were identified or a number of issues that were found when they were relocating that building to the northeast corner of the site.
I'm not sure.
I'll pass the question on to the applicant, probably, just about those pieces. Same process that we had for the public portion, just that you just state your name and municipality of residence, and you're welcome to answer the question.
Silver, yeah.
Turn the button.
Silver. There you go.
Thank you. Sorry. Thank you, Your Worship. Mike Miller, 1562 Prospect Place. I wasn't paying that close attention. I have to apologize. I'm sort of listening, but.
The question was just
Sorry, thank you.
the rationale, or is, the understanding being that the rear wing of the house being removed ultimately is contingent upon the approval of these bylaws, and the Councillor Braithwaite was just observing that it looks like that has been removed at this point prior to the completion of this process that we're underway right now, which is consideration of the bylaws. So just, I think that's pretty much it. Just if you can explain why that, if that's true, if that's why that has proceeded ahead of the actual approval of the bylaws under consideration.
Thank you, Your Worship, and through yourself to Councillor Braithwaite. I have to admit, I thought we had approval to deconstruct the wing. So in our previous meeting a few months ago, I can't remember the exact date. I'll defer to Brian on that. We had permission to actually, because the addition was sitting effectively on blocks, and it was deemed by our structural engineer unsafe. So we thought we actually had permission to do that by way of council's endorsement. So all we had to do was to remove the dormer, which we did, and we craned it off the building, and then we thought we had permission to do so. So I have to admit, I'm a little unclear. And we didn't need a demo permit because it actually wasn't considered a structural. So we did look into, do we need a demo permit for that? And we deemed we didn't, not through Brian specifically, but through the building code. So I guess I'll defer to that. But certainly we didn't come this far by moving it around the property to jump the gun by a few weeks. So again, I defer to Brian on that from a technical standpoint.
Mr. Green, do you have anything else to add?
No, only that the original heritage revitalisation agreement was in place, and therefore that did allow the moving of the Annandale house into that northeast corner of the site. So perhaps I can seek some clarification from Councillor Braithwaite in terms of what stage, and obviously it's probably a couple of months since I've been on site, and if there's been any further changes to the building. Obviously the building, the HRA was approved by council. This division was all approved by the approving officer, and then during the construction of Annandale House, if you like, or the relocation of Annandale House, that's when the applicant then submitted a revised application. And so
the question was really just around the timing of, we have an existing HRA that is in place that includes the extension on the house to be
Correct.
retained. We have not yet approved the changes from that HRA to a new, which does remove it, but that is not yet approved. And so the question was just tied to the building has, that extension has been removed. But
Correct.
we have not finished the process of whether or not we're going to approve it. So that was.
yes, but it's my understanding from the applicant that you wouldn't be able to move that entire building in one section as one house and its rear wing all in one go, given the logistics on the site.
Yeah, that wasn't the question. The question was just really related to the destruction of the wing. So it's not, the option
see.
of putting it back on is no
Right,
longer
sorry,
there.
I'm not aware that the rear wing has been destroyed, because the last time I visited the site, there were two pieces, essentially, which was authorised by the original HRA. And so perhaps that is a question for the applicant. Is the rear wing being destroyed? And then from staff's perspective, we are not aware that that rear wing was destroyed, and that would be premature given that this HRA amendment hasn't been authorised by council.
Mr. Miller?
Thank you, Your Worship. I think many times Brian Green and myself have spoken. Clearly, we had a misunderstanding about removal and how we phrased the removal term, but certainly in no way, shape, or form we were trying to jump the gun or prematurely do this. We thought we had that permission from council, and it was simply just unsafe sitting on blocks. We did the act of removing the dormer that was meant to be kept in the new, I guess, technically unapproved document that is not technically approved. So we have that piece, but not the main part of the quote-unquote lumber of the wet wing.
Thank you for answering the question.
Yeah,
Councillor Braithwaite,
thank
questions?
you. Yeah, through you, Mayor. I'd like to make a comment on that, because the question now then would be, because it hasn't been approved yet to be demolished, now that it has been, we know that it has been demolished, in normal circumstances for other proponents, there would probably be a fine attached to that. And I'm wondering if that's the case in this particular situation, because this has been removed without the actual approval and adoption of this bylaw.
Sure. I'll walk a fine line here because council's not involved in enforcement. However, I think perhaps in a generalized terms, staff look at these things and evaluate fines, et cetera, based on, they would, in course of action, look at that. I don't want to get involved. We cannot comment on enforcement of bylaw pieces, particularly in a public meeting. But procedurally here, staff's responsibility is essentially to look at those things, correct? Mr. Green?
Yes, absolutely, yes. Yeah, either if it's brought to our attention, I've not received any complaints, or I've not seen any emails that would have raised a complaint that would have then triggered our bylaw enforcement officer to then do a site visit and start a file and start an investigation and to understand what led to that part of the building's destruction or removal, and then staff would essentially start to work with the landowner and the applicant to rectify the issue and seek compliance.
Okay. Anything else, Councillor Braithwaite? Any other questions? Okay. Councillor Appleton?
Thank you, Your
Mr.
Worship.
Miller, just get you to turn off the microphone when you're not, just so you don't make funny noises in the background. No, you just stay here for a moment in case there's other questions. Please go ahead, Councillor.
Thank you, Your Worship. So I guess I'll just build on that, and I know that we can't speak to enforcement specifically, but I guess I would ask a procedural question from the perspective of this is, I think, clearly new information in front of council, and as staff have described, is new information to staff. Does it affect our consideration of this matter at this time? And should the matter be deferred until such time as staff have had an opportunity to review the facts of the matter?
I'm going to give that over to, probably not an easy question, Mr. Green, but
Ultimately, that is possibly the will of council. If council wishes to defer that to receive a further staff report from staff on the potentially unauthorised construction or removal, then that could be obviously the will of council to do that. If council wishes to proceed with the HRI, that would also be a possibility as well.
okay. Okay. Thank you. Yeah. Councillor Braithwaite?
So then that would be a motion from council that would have to come forward for that, is that correct?
I think the motion from council would be, and correct me if I'm wrong here, would be probably a motion to defer the matter and just get clarification on the new information being provided before we consider the matter. I'm always going to ask that we get through as much of questions and answers and clarification tonight as we possibly can, so we're not deferring everything. But if that's the will of council, that would be, I think, procedurally the best way to go. Is I'm getting nods from administrative staff. So, yeah. So for now, we'll deal with this with the questions, public input, and then when it comes back to council, we can consider possible directions. I don't see hands online, so I am. Thank you, Mr. Miller. I think we have a couple of people.
Thank you.
Thank you. We have people from the public, I think, who wish to speak to council. Yep, come forward. We know who you are, Mr. Stark, is one of the better-known authors. And but if I might ask that you just, for the record, read your name, just tell us your name for the record and your municipality of residence. And you had reached out earlier and asked if you could have a bit of flexibility on your speaking time, and I'm happy to give you, it's normally about 3 minutes, but I'll give you a little bit more than that if you need it. Oh, there we go.
Thank you very much. That's great. My name is Stuart Stark. I'm a heritage consultant, now retired, but since 2010 I've lived in Saanich.
Mr. Stark, can I ask that you just move the microphone slightly further away from you?
Okay,
Yeah, just.
Does that work?
Yes, perfect.
thank you. So since 2010 I've lived in Saanich, but I was born and brought up in Oak Bay, where my family lived on Prospect Place for 35 years, about 100 yards from Annandale. I've worked with Oak Bay on several projects. I've served on Oak Bay's Heritage Advisory Committee. I've had a contract to write statements of significance for 15 heritage buildings, and I also wrote the 1986 heritage inventory called Oak Bay's Heritage Buildings, More Than Bricks and Boards, funded by the BC Heritage Trust. I updated that book for free 3 times in various reprints, and it was used for over 20 years as Oak Bay's Heritage Inventory. In that book, I stated in 1986 that Annandale and its carriage house should be retained. I state the following information as I believe that Council needs to have correct information in order to make thoughtful decisions. Some of it you know already. In late April of this year, I was notified that my name had appeared in a report as being in support of proposed work at Annandale at 1587 York Place. To be clear, I have not supported that work, as I do not believe it conforms with either the property statement of significance or the standards and guidelines for the conservation of historic places in Canada. That report, written by Ms. Katie Cummer, stated incorrectly that I had written a heritage evaluation for MJA Consulting Services Limited for the Oak Bay Residents Group in April of 1986. I found Ms. Cummer, and after discussion, she agreed a mistake had been made, and she issued a retraction and correction to Council and staff, and that was appreciated. I followed up with my own emails to Council and staff, also correcting the inaccuracies, clearing my name and my professional reputation. I then was away for over a month on a long-planned holiday. On my return, I was again notified that Annandale was again on your agenda. I read the report provided to Council and saw that my name had been removed. All good. But I've never heard of this MJA Consulting Services or the Oak Bay Residents Group still being quoted in Ms. Summers' Schedule B letter of support, talking about Annandale's, quote, integrity being screwed but in good shape, unquote, and, quote, additions and dormers badly added. Ms. Cummer states, it is with this in mind I reluctantly accept the proposed loss of this section of the building. As MJA's report supposedly was written in 1986, at the same time I was writing the extensive Oak Bay inventory, I wanted to find out who these unknown heritage consultants were. Earlier today, I made some phone calls, and I found out. There were no earlier heritage consultants from 1986. That quoted evaluation, found in the Hallmark Society's archives, was a student project on heritage from a week-long course at UVic in April of 1986. There was no MJA Consulting Services or Oak Bay Residents Group. They were both made up for this student project. I have an email from one of the participants verifying herself as one of the authors. The other has since passed away. So any, quote, expert heritage evaluation, unquote, that has been quoted to you supporting planned work at Annandale or the possibility that the kitchen wing was not original is mythical. The information in Ms. Katie Cummer's report went to staff. Staff members then cited it back to Council, with other information, of course, to form justification for the changes planned to be wreaked upon Annandale. I did further research. In my own book from 1986, I found the Tupper family connection to Annandale, that a father of Confederation had visited his son at Annandale and being entertained there several times. Greater Victoria has no other connection of this kind represented in its heritage buildings. Back in 1997, knowing its historic significance, Oak Bay Council was becoming alarmed about the future of Annandale. The owner, Mrs. Cockayne, had put in an illegal suite and there were issues with noise. The owner was threatening to tear off the original kitchen wing which faced York Place. Oak Bay Council wanted to ensure the preservation of the entire building, and so designated the entire building heritage against the owner's wishes, a very rare move now, or at the time. On June 9, 1997, Oak Bay Council passed the bylaw to protect the house for the future, facing the original way, east, in its original configuration, including the original kitchen wing and its original glazed porch. The bylaw was 3940, Annandale Heritage Designation Bylaw, 1997. The weekend edition of the Times or Collins newspaper stated, the exterior of the home is now protected according to provincial heritage legislation. Any alterations or renovations to the exterior must receive council approval. Mrs. Cockayne did not ask for heritage designation and was not present for the adoption. Oak Bay Council of 1997 felt strongly enough to designate Annandale Heritage over the owner's wishes. Their intent was to preserve this significant house in as original state as possible, facing east on its original location and including the totally repairable original kitchen wing, which they have been so worried about, and the original glazed porch. Even a brand new heritage conservation area wrapping around this property has not been enough to save it. If this work proceeds, we'll be faced with a truncated, turned 180-degree house with the original kitchen wing missing and much of its heritage significance denigrated. This is not progress. This is bad conservation. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments, Mr. Stark. Does anybody else from the public wish to speak to council on the matter in front of us? This is the proposed Heritage Revitalization Agreement Amendment Application HRA 17. Not seeing any hands here. No hands online either, as far as I can see. Last chance for public input before we move back to this table.
Am I allowed to respond or no?
You can, it's public input. You're welcome to come forward. We probably have a question for you anyway after this.
Perhaps.
Yeah.
Katie Cummer, City of Victoria, but does work in Oak Bay. I just want to again reiterate, as I emailed to you all, my apologies for the misattribution, and of course to dear Stuart Stark, who I respect incredibly for all of his contributions to the field here. And I'm very pleased. I want to say well done on figuring out the MJA consulting. This was quite. I have talked to multiple people trying to figure out who these individuals were. So I do love that you have figured it out. At least that's one thing I can tick off.
I'm going to ask you just stress your comments. to
Sure.
council, so-
I like a good research mystery, so it's always fun when one gets uncovered. But I just want to apologize, and obviously, what was commented back to him, I was not saying that Stuart Stark was in support, nor was I saying that these individuals support what's being done. Throughout my reporting, I accept this very reluctantly. Cutting a building in half is not ideal, but I think genuinely what I simply try to do is just to find a compromise and a way to move forward. But I understand how this is perceived and the challenges of the field, and I'm just doing the best I can. So my apologies to everyone, my apologies to Mr. Stark, and thank you for your time.
Thank you. Can I just, if you don't mind, just in terms of appreciate your recommendations come with a fulsome of different inputs to the piece. Do your recommendations change based on the new information that's been provided here today?
Truthfully, not really. I mean, so even the MJA the point I was simply trying to make with that is that this building has been a little bit perplexing and confusing for many years to many individuals. And so it's not just that group of students, but there have been other conversations and discussions with people about, is that an original part of the building? Was it not? And I went back to the source in terms of that newspaper article from 1897 that gives us the dimensions and the description, that those back areas were actually bedrooms and things like that. So I try my best with any of my suggestions and recommendations to make sure I'm basing it on the historical record, the things that I can find to say that this is what it is. And I try my best to make sure that I go through it all thoroughly and use that to inform my recommendations. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, thank you very much. Any other questions? Okay, thank you. Okay, back to this table then. We have recommendations here in front of us in terms of reading of the bylaws. Go ahead, Councillor Braithwaite.
Mayor, based on the information that I brought forward tonight, I'd like to move that the consideration of 1587 York Place, 1562 Prospect Place Heritage Revitalization Agreement Authorization Bylaw number 4885/2025, Amendment Bylaw number 4975/2026 be deferred, and that staff be directed to inspect the subject property and report back to council regarding whether demolition or removal of any portion of the heritage structure has occurred, and if so, whether such work is consistent with applicable permits, approval, and the proposed Heritage Revitalization Agreement amendment.
Thank you. I may have to have you read that back again. I just want to make sure that we're walking a very clear line here. Motion to defer is in order procedurally. I just want to make sure that in the language that you're using, it's, I think my first blush of it was fine, but just to make sure that we're not crossing a line into consideration of bylaw enforcement as part of our consideration. So can I just get you to read it aloud again? If I can ask Ms. Anderson to listen carefully to this to make sure that, or Mr. Green, to make sure that we're not crossing that line.
I'll skip the first part about all the numbers and everything. I'll go to the be deferred, and that staff be directed to inspect the subject property and report back to council regarding whether demolition or removal of any portion of the heritage structure has occurred, and if so, whether such work is consistent with applicable permits, approvals, and the proposed heritage revitalization agreement amendment.
So my read of that, that's in order, but I'm just not asking for any bylaw enforcement or anything else.
I don't have any concerns with that wording of that motion.
Okay, so I've ruled that the motion is viable. Now we'll just see if there's a seconder for it. Moved and seconded, thank you. Motion's on the floor. Go ahead, Councillor Braithwaite.
Thank you very much, and thank you, Mr. Stark, for coming forward with your information. I think it's really timely that we had that tonight as well. Again, that information that came to my attention, suggesting that the portion of the building may have been demolished, it's basically going against the rules and regulations, and it's almost like the applicant is now asking for forgiveness rather than permission. I think it's prudent that staff really verify the facts on site and report back to council so that we can make an informed decision based on accurate and current information. Thank you.
Any other discussion? Councillor Appleton?
Thank you, Your Worship. Yeah, I'm in support of this because I feel that I feel like this is important information for council's decision making at this time, because the Heritage Revitalization Agreement is focused on the preservation of certain components of the existing structure, and in fact, as was referenced in comments here, potentially the retention of certain components of what we now understand to be demolished for use in the finalized dwelling. So I think it behooves council, before considering this HRA, considering first and second readings of this HRA, to understand what is the current status of the building, which we have heard tonight now differs from what we were expecting to consider as part of the HRA. So I think it's reasonable for us to have the fulsome information in front of us while we make consideration. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Watson online. On the motion to defer.
Yes, thank you. I won't support the motion. It's not that I don't think that in some circumstances, these issues and further exploration would be important. But I think that all I've heard is that under a proposal that we had discussed and at least supported to the point we asked for bylaws, which got strong support, that the affected portion of the building that would no longer be part of the project under the revised bylaw has had some alterations to it. And I'm not satisfied that that's enough to further extend this process, which has already taken a long time. I think it's unfortunate if the applicant misunderstood what his permissions were, but at the end of the day, I don't think a deferral is necessary in this particular situation. So I won't support the motion.
Thank you, Councillor Watson. Go ahead, Councillor Smart online.
Yeah, thank you. This is a hard situation, but I do feel similarly to Councillor Watson, in that I don't feel at this stage, as unfortunate as this was, and that I appreciate staff hearing that they will be it will be in their court to look into this. I don't feel that this additional information is going to change at least my decision making at this point towards delaying this application any further, having heard from the consultant that it doesn't change their recommendation. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Smart. Any other discussion? Go ahead, Councillor Green.
Yes, thank you. Through you to staff. Mr. Green, when would a report come back to us? Is there a timeline involved here? Just thinking about when this might happen. Thank you.
Mr. Green?
So as I say, with, yeah, I'm sure we can get a report back to council probably by April 27th, possibly. Yeah, July 27th, sorry. This went to April 27th. The last council meeting is July 27th. It is now June the 23rd. 22nd, in fact.
Okay.
Time flies when you're having fun, you know.
Yes.
Okay. July, yes. Okay, Councillor Patterson on the motion to defer.
Yes, thank you, Mayor, and I will not support the motion to defer. I don't think that deferring it, even by a month, would give me information that would change the ultimate decision that we knew was coming before council. And some of the lag in timing with this building was also dependent upon provision of community services that weren't defined till the end of the process either. But nevertheless, it wouldn't change my decision for the outcome in any way. It might provide further clarity of the existing site today. I walk by it on a regular basis, so I have already witnessed the site, and so this won't change my decision, so I won't support it.
Okay, thank you. Go ahead, Councillor Green.
Thank you. As Heritage Liaison to the Heritage Commission, I will support the motion. I think it's important to re-examine and revisit periodically our processes, and I think this will provide a review of those processes. It may or may not change the outcome, but I think it would be an important reminder for everyone. And so as the liaison, I will support the motion.
This is a very interesting question. I tend to agree. I mean, I think what I've heard is that it's unlikely that deferring it and having the report back would change the direction of council, which was ultimately to support the direction that this go forward, which I tend to agree with. I think the other part of this is, and written into the motion, was deferral just to confirm based on the fact that there were aspects of that building. There's a number of aspects that are required to complete the obligations of the HCA. And so deferral to have that sort of validated to make sure that those components are all in place and before we sign off on the bylaws would not normally be a thing that we would require, but I think given just the situation here might make a certain amount of sense. So I'm torn on this one because I think that I don't imagine it's going to much change at the end of the day the direction, but I think some validation of this in this case may make sense. I do think we need to make sure that we're given it. I don't think we're looking for a major report. We're looking for sort of validation of where things are at. I'm hoping this can come back to the first meeting in July and consideration there, but I appreciate that staff capacity is an issue, and we have a lot of land use things coming back to council at the next meeting. So I'm actually quite torn on this one. I think that I understand the rationale, and I'll probably support the motion, but I think that this one it is tricky. You don't want to delay things for no reason, but I think in this case in the wording of the motion there was actually some validation for consideration. So I'll wait and decide how I'm going to vote. I've got about 5 seconds to make up my mind. All right, so the motion on the floor is to defer and have a report have this matter come back to a future meeting of council, and it's probably the next one. With that, I'll call the question. All those in favor of the motion? And those opposed? I have Councillor Patterson, Patterson, Watson, and Smart opposed, so that will pass. And so we'll seek a report back, hopefully the first meeting in July, which I think is the 13th, but if it's the 27th, then it's the 27th. Okay, that is not moving forward today. I do anticipate it'll have reasonable consideration come next month. Moving then to item number 10, reports and memorandums. This is not subject to public input. People who are here for that matter you can go. 10.1 is outstanding, and this is such exciting stuff though. This is all of our council resolutions. Anyway, with that, we have a status update. Ms. Hunt, our CAO, will provide the introduction, and then we have a number of staff members here to talk to the specifics of the matter. Go ahead, Ms. Hunt.
Thank you very much, Your Worship. Yeah, from time to time, Council makes resolutions to seek additional information or direct staff to undertake a piece of work. Staff track and action these resolutions either as part of their regular operational duties, perhaps as part of existing Council priority projects that are already underway, or as new individual work items. Staff present the list of outstanding resolutions to Council twice per year in conjunction with Council's review of the Council priority projects. And the last time that we prepared this list of outstanding resolutions was in November 2025. The report this evening provides 3 attachments. The first is a list of items completed since that last update in November. I note that some of these items staff have deemed complete as they are included either in the Council priority project or have been operationalized. The second list are those items that are still in progress, and staff have provided a short progress update on them. And the third list are those items that are currently considered on hold for various reasons, either staff capacity, dependency on other work, or that they're going to be operationalized at a future date. And at the last meeting, Council asked for staff to facilitate a Council discussion on those items that are considered inactive or on hold in order to be able to remove some of them, as that list was growing rather long. So staff have included recommendations for removal of on-hold items, and we provided sort of some justification. And I will just clarify that any items on that list that we haven't included a recommendation for removal would stay on the on-hold list until such time that staff can action them. And lastly, I just want to note that in future, staff will be seeking to ensure that resolutions that are related to an existing Council priority project be referred to and then tracked as part of the scope or progress of those projects. This will help ensure that we maintain clarity on the Council priority projects and that this list of resolutions is truly those extraordinary ones that are not related to a piece of work that is already underway. And I'll leave it at that. And yes, I want to thank staff for all their work in updating this list and obviously completing a number of items since the last update, and to thank Corporate Services for pulling this together for me.
Thank you very much, Ms. Hunt. Obviously, these are all genesis of moments in time and projects that were important, and some of them have been operationalized, and some of them I think probably have a few questions. So, though we have no public input on this portion, I think logically we have a whole report that could be directed as laid out, or we can make changes to it. So I think procedurally easiest just to go if there's questions, if anybody has any concerns or thoughts on any one of these items in the list. We take those and walk through them fairly quickly, just given there's 7 of us and a good 25 or so of these projects. I think we probably just want to make sure that we're not spending time on things we agree to, but really focusing on things where we need some more clarification or disagree with, and we can have some discussion about those. So with that, I'll turn to members of council. Go ahead, Councillor. I'll start a speaking list. Go ahead, Councillor Braithwaite.
Thanks very much, Mayor, and through you to staff. For the derelict properties one, I'm wondering if staff expect work to begin in late 2026, why would we remove it from the tracking now rather than keep it as an active, outstanding resolution? Please and thank you.
Ms. Hunt?
Councillor Braithwaite, if you could just point me to the, perhaps staff and the public to the
Sorry,
number.
it's number 2023-139.
On the on hold list, or the?
That is on the on hold list, yeah, sorry.
Okay.
It's the second item in the list.
Sorry.
So what was the question? It's currently not dropped, it's just being held on hold until other work is completed.
But we've removed it from the tracking right now, have we not?
No, can't see it. No.
Yeah, those things that have a blank to be removed from tracker means that
Sorry,
it's
yes,
not.
through the chair to Councillor Braithwaite. If there's no removal and it's just blank in that column, where it will stay on the tracker as on hold. We're not recommending to remove it. I should have been clear that if there's no, if the box next to recommendation for removal is blank, then we're saying let's keep it.
So if I may, then that would be the same about the council code of conduct review as well? Yes. No.
Which number is that, Councillor?
2023-129.
So through the chair to Councillor Braithwaite, yes, if you look at the far column, that one is recommendation to remove because of Bill 17.
So if I may, Mayor, then my question on that one would be, would removal prevent council from receiving a future report once the province finalizes the new code of conduct requirements? Would we get a future report on that or no?
Yes, absolutely. In order to comply with that legislation, we will be bringing forward a staff report on that.
And then my last question would be, when an item is removed because it's being tracked under a council priority project, how will we be able to verify that the original resolution and its specific direction remain within the scope of that project?
Ms. Hunt?
Yeah, thank you very much through the chair to you, Councillor Braithwaite. In the next report, you will see that in the council priority projects, we've updated those to refer to the resolutions that have been moved over, and so that as staff are continuing to work on those projects, that they're keeping in mind those resolutions that were moved over. And yeah, Sarah can speak to that as part of the next report.
Yeah, thank you for that. I just wanted to make sure that the public was aware of that too. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Braithwaite. Move to then to Councillor Smart.
Thank you. I just had a few questions. I'll give you the resolution numbers first. So my first question was just with regards to 2025-333, the tenant protection policy. Just acknowledging that the options analysis is complete, but we have set aside this work. I just wanted to confirm, is the tenant protection bylaw project now on the long list? How will it be tracked going forward?
Okay. I'll go ahead, Ms. Morton.
Thank you, Your Worship. Yes, I can confirm that project is on the long list for council priorities.
Please continue, Councillor Smart.
Thank you. My next question is with regards to 2021-018, the small equipment greenhouse gas strategy. Seeing that this project is complete, I wondered, is this a strategy that that is available to council to review?
Ms. Hunt?
Yeah, through the chair to Councillor Smart, and maybe I'll let Thomas chime in. I think we spoke about this when we were talking about the gas-powered equipment. This is something that has been operationalized in terms of staff looking at it as different pieces of equipment come up for replacement and considering whether or not it should continue to be a gas-powered piece of equipment or some other form of equipment.
Councillor Smart?
Thank you. I appreciate the clarification. I guess it seemed this was from before my time, but I guess I was just surprised that didn't come to council. I'm just quickly looking up to see if that was part of the resolution. Okay. I'll just go on to my next question. So 2023-576, the correspondence policy. I just wondered, was it, seeing that we're close to the end of this council term, I just wondered if staff could comment on whether it was, best practice for us to review that new correspondence policy just prior to the next council, knowing that they will have to abide by it. Was it purposeful that it is actually a good idea for us, having lived the last few years to have more perspective on it, or would it actually be a good thing to have that pushed off to the future council? I just wondered if staff could comment.
Yeah, thank you very much. This was a policy that came forward to council a few years ago, council had made a number of comments on it. When new staff, myself and Ms. Anderson looked at that policy, we decided that it needed a sort of a refresh and a bit of a rewrite, and that will be coming forward to council in July for council's commentary. Obviously, at that time, council can decide whether to refer that to the new council, but I think from my perspective, it's an operational policy that has been simplified down to really help the public understand what happens with the correspondence that comes in and how that is being handled by staff. So I'm not sure that there's, I think, council can obviously, I think a lot of the pieces that had to do with council have actually been removed out of that, and it's become more of an operational policy for staff. So, but council can obviously make the decision to direct that to the new council if they wish.
Thank you, Ms. Hunt. Please continue, Councillor Smart.
Thank you. With regards to, and I appreciate that clarification, with regards to 2021 162, the end of trip facilities at Estevan Esplanade, were end of trip facilities at Willows Park installed? I just wondered with that one, was that actually completed? Because I know that this has come up a few times, and I just wondered if we're going to get rid of it and potentially not be tracking that anymore. I guess I just it just concerned me a little bit. I just wanted to confirm that we actually did install end of trip facilities before we lose the tracking on that item.
Sure. Sorry, it's on page 14 of, 14 of 16. Yeah, at the bottom of there. Mr. Director Rennick is online. Perhaps I'll hand this over to Mr. Rennick. Welcome.
Thank you very much. How's my volume, Mr. Mayor?
It's good, thank you.
Through Mr. Mayor to Councillor Smart, additional bike racks will be installed at Willows Beach at the end of the Estevan Avenue, and they will be done as part of the new viewing platform that is anticipated to be installed this year that Council was briefed about at a meeting back in April. And so I do feel comfortable removing that section of the resolution, although they have not been installed yet. They will be. Just give us a couple more months.
Thank you for that. Councillor Smart, anything else?
Thank you. I said one last question, and it was with regards to 2023-666, the community gardens, and I just wondered if there was any more information that staff could just provide around. I understand there wasn't capacity for this, but just to clarify, so that is actually a project that is still being pursued and included. Just want a clarification.
This is I think right now the recommendation is for removal as there's a temporary use permit being considered, but Mr. Soulier?
That's correct. Staff will be bringing forward a temporary use permit for that property, and so this is being considered for removal. That being said, the Parks Master Plan process will include consideration of community gardens as a broader theme, as residents are considering potential uses for park spaces.
Great. Was that the last question, Councillor Smart?
That was my last question. When it does come time for motions, I do have some that I would like to remove to keep, and I'll bring that up later.
Okay. Any other questions from members of council? Yeah, please go ahead, Councillor Braithwaite.
Thank you, Mayor. There were two questions that I did have, and the first one was number 2025-509, the zoning amendment for real estate offices. And I was confused with this one because it says that it's recommended for removal, and it'll be tracked as part of the prepare of the village plans. I thought that that we had already put this in place for real estate offices on the avenue. I thought this was completed already, but obviously not. Or maybe
Mr.
staff
Green?
can explain.
Through your worship to Councillor Braithwaite. So I guess there was two parts. There was an amendment to the zoning bylaw to specifically prohibit real estate offices on the avenue, which was completed. However, this was a second motion to, I guess, take a broader look at the issue of retail service business uses as part of either village area planning or the modernisation of the zoning bylaw.
Thank you for that reminder. And then my last question was around 2023-079, which is the recreation building hours, and it says recommended for removal because this item is outdated. Can you just explain that one to me, Mr. Soulier, because I was a little bit confused by it. Thanks.
Through the mayor, sort of 2 points that I would probably make relative to that question. And the first, I think, relates to the fact that there will be an overall recreation services master plan exercise that will take place once we get through the Parks Master Plan. That will be an opportunity to look at service provision, which will include hours of operations for the facilities. And then secondly, in the year that I've been with the district, this is something that staff have regularly been evaluating just in terms of our attendance at each of the facilities and making sure that our hours are aligning with demand. And so the hours that we have right now, they are as late as any recreation facility in the region. We are matched, I think, with one other municipality right now, and there are a few that are closed slightly earlier. But we do see demand dropping off in those later hours right now. So we wouldn't suggest at this point there's a need to, based on demand, to increase that. But as I mentioned earlier, an overall look will be taking place as part of that long-term plan.
Sorry, even for the swimming, eh?
Anything else, Councillor Bracey? Okay. That was my question as well, which is that one item. So I'll, don't see any other questions being raised here. So we have two proposed motions. One is to receive the report, which is probably pretty straightforward. Moved and seconded. Don't usually debate receipt, but I'm happy to take comments if people wish. Thank you. I'll call the question. All those in favor? Any opposed? None opposed. And then I think we'll take the resolution, and then I think Councillor Smart indicated she had some amendments she'd like to make. So can I perhaps move the recommendation for?
I'll move the recommendation.
Moved and seconded. So this is to remove resolutions as laid out on here. And for clarity, the ones that aren't explicitly recommended for removal will not be removed. They will remain on hold. Just so the public and is clear about that. Okay, moved and seconded. Do the movers and seconds wish to speak to it? No, otherwise I'll go to Councillor Smart online. Please go ahead, Councillor Smart.
Yes, thank you. I really overall appreciate getting this report down to fewer, more impactful resolutions. I really appreciate staff's work on this, but there were 4 items left that I believe are slated for removal that I didn't feel were completed, that we haven't discussed yet. And so would you like them one by one so that we could consider them, Mayor Murdoch?
I would, yes. I think that's important. So just if you could move that, whatever you wish changed, either whatever you're directing, to make it as a motion, and I'll see if there's a seconder. If there is, you can motivate.
I'd like to remove the following from the motion, which means to keep it. So to the accessible parking spaces 2025-517.
You don't suppose you know which page that's on, do you?
I did not do page numbers. I just recorded the title and the resolution, but I imagine it's under building and planning, if that's helpful.
Oh, it's on page 14 apparently. Okay. Oh, second line on page 14. So the recommendation is for removal. There are no longer any provincially mandated accessible parking requirements. Okay. So it's moved. Everybody see it? Is there a seconder? Moved and seconded. Go ahead, Councillor Smart.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate that there are no provincial regulations, but it's exactly because there are no provincial regulations that this work is now, my understanding, is clearly in the court of municipal governments to regulate. And so I don't want us to lose track of this item and our ability to regulate this at the local government level. So I just don't want this important piece of work to get lost.
Okay, thank you. I note that the note from staff here is that a motion could be abandoned or reporting back could take place at a time of long-listed parking facilities bylaw update, CPP 71. But your ask is that this stay on the list, on the on-hold list, and not be marked as completed. Is that your request?
I'm concerned about it getting delayed. I think it's very timely that I honestly would hate to see another multifamily, building go forward without us having these regulations in place. So I do feel like there's an urgency around dealing with this issue.
Okay. So for clarification, you're going to remove it from the list, which would, it's currently on hold, so it would essentially just stay on hold, is the.
Okay, if that is an easier motion, I was trying to phrase it sort of as per the motion, but if to keep it on the hold list.
To remove that, the recommendation is clear. So the recommendation is currently to remove it from the list. So removing it from that removal would leave it as an on hold item that's in the long list or in the list here. Okay. Any other discussion? Ms. Hunt?
Yeah, thank you, Your Worship. Yeah, I just do want to clarify that it would stay on the on-hold list. It doesn't mean that it is going to be, actioned anytime soon. It would still be just there as on hold, and then staff would get to it like the other on-hold items.
Okay. Thank you, Councillor Appleton.
Follow-up question then, Your Worship, through you to staff. As indicated in the report, the most likely time that it would be actioned would be as part of the review of the parking facilities bylaw update. Confirm?
Yeah. So the answer to that question was nods from staff. Since that's not very audible online, the answer is yes, it would be most likely dealt with as part of the broader parking consideration. It does not mean that's the only way it can be dealt with, but that's the most likely. Okay. Any other discussion? I'll speak in favor of that motion. I think this is it's a piece that I think is beneficial for consideration. And for clarity, it does not prevent us from requiring accessibility parking in any projects that come forward in the interim. We are not banned from doing that. It's just we don't have a policy without this work being done. Okay. So go ahead, Councillor Green.
Thank you for the clarity. I think that should be well communicated so that the public does understand that we're not moving away from this problem. We're just working through a different process. So that clarity is really important in any messaging that we do to the community. Thank you.
Thank you. So the motion right now is to remove the request for removal, so it would stay on the long list or on the on-hold list. So a vote in favor of this keeps it as a project. So on the motion to amend, all those in favor? And those opposed? None opposed, that carries. Please go ahead, Councillor Smart.
Yeah, thank you. There's just one other item because I see now with the clarification that the ones that have empty boxes will stay on the list. So the only other one I wanted to bring forward was brought up already, and it's 2023-079 with regards to the hours at recreation centers. And I would just make a motion to keep it on the list as on hold.
So page 15, third from the bottom, under Parks, Rec, and Culture. So the motion, is to remove it from removal again. So this would be keep the question of staffing and hours of operations. Is there a seconder for that motion? I'll give it a moment because people need to find it and read it just to see if there's a interest. I'm not seeing a seconder, so nope. Anything else from any? Councillor Smart, I think you said that was indicated as your last amendment?
Yep.
Any other motions to amend? Otherwise, we have a motion on the floor, which is to approve the report as laid out with one amendment. Okay, I'm going to call the question. All those in favor? Any opposed? None opposed. Thank you. We now move to 11.1, which is our mid-year council priorities update and review. Ms. Morden, over to you.
Thank you, Mayor. Good evening, members of council. So we are pleased to be here for the mid-year check-in on your council priorities projects. The report before you has three aspects to the analysis section. First, and really the main focus, is the project status update. Attachment 1 provides that update organized by project status, so by completed, in progress, and so on. And attachment 2 includes the same information, but is organized by project number. To date, in this term, Council has resourced 39 council priority projects. 19 are complete, 16 are in progress, and 4 are funded in the financial plan to begin as early as 2027. The second component of the analysis is an update on work that is underway to report back to Council on the implementation of the task force recommendations related to derelict boats and moorage management. Third and finally, the report provides an overview of the process that is under development to work with the incoming council as part of their orientation program to develop their council priorities plan. As referenced in the report, projects that are currently in progress, those funded to begin as early as 2027, and all long-listed projects will be referred to this process for review and prioritization by the incoming council. So staff are recommending receipt of the report with no changes to projects unless otherwise directed by council. And just finally, a quick thank you to colleagues for being online or in the room tonight to answer questions about projects, and to Corporate Services for making sure we engineered and reverse engineered all the information related to council resolutions. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Ms. Morden. And yes, I think in normal years, we take a bit more, sometimes some time to go and look through and see if we're reprioritizing and pieces. But obviously, as we wind this council term down, it's here mostly for information. At this point, there's a lot of stuff still underway. So I'm happy to take any other direction of council, but at this point, take some questions from council. All right, you can put the motion on the floor. Oh. Sorry, Ms. Anderson.
Oh, sorry to interrupt you. I think the fan is pointing right at your microphone, so it's, thank you.
I can't hear that, so thank you. Don't want that to be the background noise. So before I get to motions, I need to go to public input. But I have Councillor Smart, I see your hand up.
Yes, thank you. I just had a question through you, Mayor, to staff about the proposed schedule for strategic planning. And I just wanted to ask, because the schedule is different than I experienced when I came on council, and I really appreciated when I started council how expedited the process was to include new councillors to be able to look at our priority themes around the end of November, December, and even have an opportunity to have a discussion around potential projects for the 4-year term ahead of the first budget. And I see this as a much more relaxed schedule. And so I'm wondering if staff could comment on whether they saw problems with the previous schedule, because as far as I was concerned, it was 10 out of 10 from the point of view of a new councillor coming in to feel very seen and included.
Ms. Morden?
Oh, well, thank you, first of all, for the 10 out of 10. We're always just seeking to improve, continuous improvement. We have joined a community of practice of other municipalities across the province. And so this process is certainly just under development. It's a draft. We're open to taking feedback and certainly can note Councillor Smart's remarks. I would say there was no problems. It's just a matter of searching for opportunities and ensuring that there's an opportunity for the feedback from the community questionnaire to feed into the prioritization that council will undertake.
Go ahead, Councillor Smart.
Yeah, thank you. I think that's really my only question, and I'll provide comments after we pass a motion.
Okay. Don't see hands up for questions, so I'll go to the public at this point. I see one hand up from a member of the public wishing to address council. Same process. I know you've already spoken to us tonight, Mr. Zelka, but if you just state your name and municipality for the record, and you can address council.
Thank you very much, Chair. Your Honor, I appreciate the opportunity. With respect to this motion, I wanted to point out just a couple of things related to the climate initiatives. Many of them that appear to be in progress or are on hold are I have to admit, when I look across the website and I look across, try to gather the information for this question, it's very difficult to actually pull out a detailed information with respect to the meeting of our provincial mandates. As you know, the province has put in provincial mandates in the areas of buildings and zoning and those other areas. But with the new legislation that has come down with respect to the new Emergency and Disaster Management Act that took effect July 8th, 2024, and has rolling acts with specific business continuity and emergency management plans requirements rolling out all the way through 2027, I suggest that many of the climate plans being suggested by staff are actually out of date and not in alignment with what the province is really forcing us to do, us, the royal us, with respect to the provincial mandated requirements. So I would suggest that maybe a review of this report in the area of climate with respect to specifically the report that came out on March 16, 2026 at the Committee of the Whole. That report presented to you already is called the Climate Action Program Annual Update. It's one of the few reports where I was actually able to see numbers, actual reporting out on greenhouse gas numbers with respect to our provincially mandated requirements. This report, thankfully, rolled up work done since all the way back to 2007. And it says the latest data shows for Oak Bay, we've had a 22% decrease in our emissions from 2007 levels. We are not just greenhouse gas negative, we are well on our way to meeting provincially mandated requirements. So congratulations to previous councils, to previous mayors, congratulations to all of you. But really, in light of this, many of the suggestions in the priorities, I know council really wants to say, hey, look at that, this was our priority, and look what we did, please vote for me again. But unfortunately, in the area of climate, it's a specific related to numbers going all the way back to 2007. So only to show things that have happened since this council came to office is not helpful with respect to climate aspect. Now, why this is so passionate to me is that we have, with respect to livability, a lot of climate anxiety out there. You know, I make reference to people, you know, crazy gluing themselves to the Mona Lisa or blocking traffic on the highway or God forbid, doing something even worse, you know, a climate strike, for example. This is all example of what these concerns around, how do I say, climate inaction is engendering in our young people, our youth. So I really would ask the council highlight and amplify and really call out all the incredible work done by staff, in particular Parks, Rec, and Culture, so that we can help reduce the level of anxiety amongst our young people and livability within this area and also within the CRD. That's number one.
Okay, Mr. Zelke, you're at 4 minutes and counting.
Oh.
So if you don't mind, just if you could wrap up your comments.
I didn't realize that this one was limited to 3 minutes. I do apologize. Let me just finish up the last point, which was, what was it again? Again, what is the criteria? Simply adding the criteria for this council to end the state of climate emergency. Come up with a criteria and get that in place, please. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Zelke, for your comments. I might just turn as a question from the public comment, because obviously we don't tend to have community or council priorities for things that are mandated by the province. They tend to be operationalized and dealt with. So just for our edification, if staff that are in the room know the answer to the question, the changes to the emergency management plan that did happen in 2024, there's obviously have had impacts on our operations in all kinds of areas. I guess probably at a high level, just confirmation that communication happens, that our priorities and projects do align, and just, yeah, maybe just a quick touch point from staff on that. I'm not sure if I give that to Ms. Morden or to Ms. Hunt.
Thank you very much. Yes, I can confirm that our emergency program manager has reviewed the legislation and been incorporating that into our emergency management programs. It included really looking at risk assessments and emergency planning. It included how we consult and engage with Indigenous nations. Yes, just a variety of different, but all sort of, as you say, at that operational level in terms of how we assess, how we plan, and how we would mitigate disaster under the new legislation, and staff have been incorporating that into our planning.
Okay, and do we have any sort of, again, it's kind of one of those things we don't typically see those, I mean, this is again the 95% of things that happen outside of the public realm because they're just operational. But there is no real reporting on that kind of alignment with provincial regulations or legislation, correct? Because it's just something we have to do by law, so we do it. Is there any reporting out for those kind of alignment pieces, Ms. Hunt?
Your Worship, no, you're correct. I don't think there's any sort of formal reporting that we would do. I mean, there's been a variety of new legislation over the last few years from the province in all kinds of areas that, we've been implementing. And unless there's, legislated reports that council has to sign off on, such as those under the Housing Supply Act, we would not be bringing those forward to council. We would just be doing the work.
Okay. Thank you. Councillor Braithwaite?
Thanks, Mayor. There's just a couple of things I wanted to touch on, and they're on page 13 under the advance in 2027 or beyond, and it's the or beyond part that I'm looking at. And the first one I would like to touch on is the CPP number 82, which is the Standards of Maintenance Bylaw for Heritage Properties. And it does say advanced in 2027 or later, and I'm wondering how we perhaps get that to just say advance in 2027. Is there a way that we can do that? Because I worry that we may have heritage properties that have been identified that where deterioration might become a concern before this project begins.
Ms. Morden?
Thank you, Mayor. And I can start, and then perhaps Mr. Green will want to build on more exact timing that might be anticipated. From our perspective, when we categorize advance in 2027 or later, that's just tied to the financial plan and the year in which it's resourced. So that's the earliest year currently that it would start. And then Mr. Green may have some additional comment.
Mr. Green, do you wish to add anything?
For your worship, other than that just would be reasonable if we wanted to advance that in 2027, that we think that would probably be feasible to undertake that bylaw.
Okay.
And sorry, Mayor, if I may, just it would be the same for number 9, which is the prepare the village area plan, because I know that we've been pushing that off, and so I really hope that that's able to advance in 2027. But again, I realize that it's attached to the budget, so thank you.
Okay, I think that's more of a comment than a question, so perfect. Okay, I don't see any other questions, so perhaps we can have a motion as later here, which is really just to receive the report. Moved.
I'll
Second.
move receipt.
Thank you. Moved and seconded. So additional comments are welcome if people have them. I think Councillor Smart, you indicated you wish to get a couple of comments.
Yeah, thank you. I would love the chance to make a couple of comments. We really appreciate seeing this report at this stage. I just, my 2 comments would be with regards to, potentially keeping a more similar schedule for council orientation to what we received. I appreciate how important it is to have the community survey as part of that schedule, but most candidates have just gone door to door and have a lot of information from the community at their hands. And I just would hate to see a new council come in, potentially with different viewpoints and not have a chance to have some of those important conversations early. And then my other comment was just with regards to around operationalized projects and just thinking of the next council term. I know as a new councillor, I would have appreciated a little bit more clarity around when a council priority project will be operationalized and a little bit more touch points with council and the public as far as regular updates of when council priority projects are at the operational level. Because that was just a bit of a surprise to me as a new counselor that one of those projects might be totally operationalized and we would be quite hands off from it. And I'd love to have more interaction going forward. So those are my comments. Thanks.
Thank you, Councillor Smart. Go ahead, Councillor Green, on the motion.
Yes, through you. I just want to thank staff and commend them for the work. And the timing is good as well because we're coming into an election term. So it kind of reminds us what these last 4 years were about. And I know it's really easy to lose track for council members to lose track of motions and resolutions and good intentions. So thank you for putting all that on paper. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Just one other quick question, because I think there is sometimes questions from the public, is whatever happened to that Resolution X? Do you know offhand where on the website the public goes to find this? Is it under the council, or is it, what section of the website is it found where people are curious for the public?
Oh, sorry, Your Worship, for the council priorities plan?
Yeah.
Oh, yes. There is an entire page designated for the council priorities plan. It also has all of the quarterly updates from this term, and it has the community questionnaire results as well. I won't read out the URL, but I believe it's a little bit of an explainer in the report how to get there. But if you go to the website and search council priorities plan, it'll bring it up.
Okay, thank you for that.
Thank you.
And Councillor Watson.
Thank you, Mayor. I just wanted to say, just following up on the comment about the proposal for the slight, well, it's a shift in setting priorities that's proposed. And I have to say that because there are other elements to it, I think it actually does make sense. I just want to say that I understand Councillor Smart's comment about the new councillors will have been out door to door and will have very current sort of touch and feel in the community. However, the process that's being suggested is going to involve those councillors working together to set high priority themes with desired outcomes and mechanisms. And I think that is helpful because that is more than what we actually accomplished in November and January on the last, on this current term of council. And then that can be more closely informed by what we hear from the community. So I think all our ideas are still going to come into that discussion that's proposed for January, or whoever has our ideas, but council's ideas are going to come into the room in January 2027. So I would support the new approach. I don't see it as really leading to any difference in the outcomes. I think we'll still have good priority projects and strategies going forward using what's proposed.
Thank you for that, Councillor Watson. Don't see any other indications of people wishing to speak. We have a motion on the floor to receive. So I'm going to call the question. All those in favor? Any opposed? None opposed. That carries. As I mentioned at the beginning of the meeting, we do have some new business, which is just coming out of our in-camera portion. I'm just going to turn to Ms. Anderson. It's okay. I think you're just confirming what we're going to bring into this realm, correct?
Thank you, Mayor. We were just talking. I could share what you're about to speak with on the screen if council wished.
I think that's probably the best. This is essentially a motion just for allowing council to set the criteria for, as we rose and reported, we're going to be asking for additional information. So this is just, we have one more decision point to make, which is just how we're going to measure the criteria. And so if we can just bring that up, I think that would be helpful. And what I'll probably do is have a motion made to approve these criteria, and then we can have a debate and have motions to amend that. And I believe there might be something that we may have to step in camera for briefly, but if we do that, we'll just probably most simply go into the antechamber here and have that conversation. I'll bring them off of my laptop. There we go. Thank you. So I think probably procedurally here, the simplest thing is probably just to move that council use the proposed categories and weighting, and then we can get motions to amend that. It's probably the simplest thing. So is there a mover and seconder to prove that? Okay, with lots of movers and seconders. So we're not going to call the question yet, obviously. I just because what's up here is the categories, but just for clarification of people looking, this is really the mechanism. Does staff, do you want to, Ms. Bay, do you want to provide a brief overview of why this is in front of us, or do you want me to do that? Over to me. Okay. Council, as noted in as the Risen report, has directed staff to go forward with a request for additional information, including financial information from proponents that responded to the RFEOI. With that, by obligation, we have to have a process to assess the responses that we're going to get. And so the proposal here is that we use essentially 4 buckets: financial, operational, community, and environmental. And then we would use a percentage weighting that we will agree to tonight that will guide when those responses come back, how we are assessing those responses. And because they're not on the screen here, I think just for the interest of the public, the financial includes proposed rent range, capital investments, life cycle maintenance, rent escalators, etc. The operational bucket is operator experience, operational plans or operations plans, risk mitigations, etc. Under community, it's public amenities, public access, partnerships, benefits to First Nations, etc. And then environmental is dock replacement, fueling, fire protection, etc. And so that's those buckets. Those are the percentages that were provided to us as a suggestion by Colliers, who is helping us with this process. Ultimately, that it's the percentages will be ultimately up to council to determine, and then we will use these when the proposals come back. So it's an important piece, and I think very critically important that we have this conversation in the public realm, just because I think the public has a right to understand how we're making these decisions on these pieces. So that's where we're at. And with that, so the motion's live on the floor, and I'm happy to have just a general conversation here. I think being too formal makes it a little bit complicated, but I'll probably, if there's any after any comments. We can get to, if there's any motions to change this, we can certainly take those. Go ahead, Councillor Smart.
Yeah, I would be interested to make an amendment around adding another category, but it would have to be in camera because it does involve other levels of government or First Nations.
Okay. Thank you. You did flag that you might want to do that. So we would have to move in camera, and that's fine. So what I would seek is a motion to move in camera. And Ms. Anderson, if you don't mind reading aloud the rationale for moving in camera for those purposes.
Yes, thank you. So the meeting will convene in camera in accordance with Section 91E, land acquisition, disposition, or expropriation of land, and Section 92B3, the consideration of information received and held in confidence relating to negotiations between the municipality and a First Nation or a prescribed Indigenous entity, or between a First Nation or a prescribed Indigenous entity and a third party.
Okay, so I'll take that as a motion from you, Councillor Smart. Is there a seconder? Seconded? Is there just debate going in camera? Just because, by the nature of it, the nature of debate is going to have to happen in camera. So I think we will move in camera, probably for not too long a period. And what I think procedurally we will do, just to allow everybody to be comfortable in here, we'll just step into the small room. We'll bring up a Teams meeting with Councillor Smart and Watson online. And then we can have that conversation. Then we'll come back into this room for consideration of changes. Fair? So I'm going to call the question on the motion to move in camera. All those in favor? Any opposed? Don't see any opposed. So I'm going to ask you to turn off your cameras and your microphones, both Councillor Smart and Watson. So the next conversation is private, and then we'll send you a quick Teams invite coming back. Yeah, so just for
Could you just clarify how you're going to send the Teams invite? Will it be by email?
Ms. Anderson?
Thank you for the question of clarification. If you could join the previous Teams meeting?
Thank you.
Okay, perfect. And so we're going to go in camera, but just for the benefit of the public watching, we will step into the other room. There are some things we're just not legally allowed to discuss in the public. This is very unusual for us. We very rarely have this opportunity to do this or have to do this. But we can't legally talk about those two aspects in the public realm. So we'll go into the other room, we'll have a quick conversation. If there's changes and so forth, we can rise and report and come back here and make changes, but the conversation itself has to be in camera. So you're welcome to stay in the room here and wait. And if you're online, please wait for us. Is there any mechanism by which we can put on a screen, just saying we've stepped into in camera briefly? Okay. Okay. Can we actually say that council will reconvene because we actually are coming back to this room? Okay, thank you. We'll be right back, or shortly. Okay, we have, we're going to call the open portion of the meeting back to order. I think there's still some people, there's still some people online with us here. So we have in front of us the proposed weighting that came out of our earlier meeting for consideration. The hope tonight is, well, our goal tonight is to agree to this and move it forward so that the proponents understand how we're going to be weighing the responses. If we can bring that back up on the screen again, then we can have that to talk to. I know we have Councillor Smart with us again. I just want to make sure that we have Councillor Watson joined us back online here as well. Sometimes switching technology creates a loss. I'm just going to wait for Councillor Watson to rejoin the meeting. She's officially there, but
I am, can you not see me? I am, I just had to close a curtain because I had so much light on my screen I couldn't see it. Yeah.
no, in fact, you're pitch black on our screen, so that's fine. You can stay without the video. Oh, no,
is it working? I
it
can't
is.
see myself either. Something's happened to the
No, don't
settings.
worry about
Anyway,
it.
I am
Well,
here. I'll let you know if I leave. Sorry.
That's all you need, and you can just raise your hand if you wish to speak. So we're back at this meeting here. We have up, can you see the screen that's in front of us? Both Carrie and Leslie, I take it you can. So basically, this is the motion that's been moved and seconded to direct to proceed with the following categories in allotted weighting. There's been no changes made to that, but we're coming back into the public realm. We may want to tweak either the language or the percentages. So, Councillor Appleton?
Your Worship, I would propose an amendment to the proposed weighting such that the financial, operational, and community components are weighted equally at 30% each.
Okay. I will let that come up on screen. Is there a seconder for that motion? I don't see a seconder, but I have a hand up from Councillor Smart, so I just want to make sure there's not a...
Yeah, that was a second.
Okay, thank you. And just again, ask for online just to verbalize if that's the case. So we have a motion with a seconder. Go ahead, Councillor Appleton.
Oh, thank you, Your Worship. So this is just to, I think, reflecting the fact that this matter is coming back into the public eye, that we've risen and reported on this, and that council is taking the initiative to inform the public or taking steps to be transparent with the public as far as the evaluation for these submissions. I think we've heard loud and clear, and council has heard loud and clear from the community that community benefit from any agreement reached around the marina is extremely important to the community. So I would, obviously there are mandates to achieve financial return on behalf of the district, but I would like to see community benefit be weighted equally with financial component as part of this evaluation. Thank you, Your Worship.
Thank you. Councillor Smart, did you wish to speak as the seconder?
Yes, thank you. I do appreciate this motion. In looking at these categories and the weighting, I do think back to our original objectives for the entirety of the site and thinking about how impactful this particular part of the site activation is going to be. I do really appreciate this rebalancing the community aspects of what are happening on this site, particularly looking at all the different categories that is including. I really particularly feel deserves a much higher weighting. I believe the success of the development of this project is really around the community appreciation of this site. So appreciate this motion.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else with the motion on the floor is to change the percentages? Go ahead, Councillor Braithwaite.
Yeah, thanks, Mayor. I appreciate this coming forward, but I feel pretty strongly that we should keep it as it is. The community benefits are important, but they depend on really having a financially sustainable marina with a capable operator. So if the business model doesn't work, the community benefits won't be sustainable either. So I would like to see us keep it at the original weights, and so I'll be voting against the motion. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other discussion? Councillor Patterson?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. I haven't not made a final decision. I will listen to other comments, but I somewhat agree with Councillor Braithwaite. Our problem with the existing facility has really been that the reinvestment in the marina was not sustainable. It did not sustain it in a state that is benefiting the community, and the community is also, has expressed dissatisfaction with that. So I do think that the financial does really carry a lot of importance in my mind, and I don't know, the community and public benefits are perhaps a little more difficult to gauge than the actual financial, and I think that Council's responsibility is to ensure that on a go-forward basis that the investment in the marina is sustainable for the community. I think there's a lot of community members that don't understand that it has not been a sustainable site for the district. And so, but I will listen to what others have to say, because I do understand and appreciate Councillor Appleton comments about the importance of the community benefits in the assessment.
Any other? Go, Councillor Green.
Thank you. I will support the motion. I think it does what we had talked about earlier, or that I had thought about, and that was to level the playing field as much as possible. And I think making the community benefit and public amenities and so on under the third category, I think bringing that up is important to both the to both communities, both Indigenous and non-Indigenous. So I will support it. Thank you.
Councillor Watson, just because I can't see you on there, did you wish to speak to the motion?
No, I'm still thinking about this. I don't have anything to add at the moment. Thank you.
Yeah, so I'm just going to go to...
Murdoch, I do have my hand up, but I know you probably can't see it.
Yep, you've spoken. I'm just going to go to first-time speakers first. So I have Braithwaite and you, but I'm going to just speak briefly to the motion. So my inclination here is to not support the motion, and I hearken back to the sort of the rationale for any of these kind of approaches. And I think just to reflect, this is a marina operator process. So there is some nuance to what that would include, but the primary purpose of this is to get a financial response to this. This is not, well, there's some aspects of public spaces as noted in the community, like public access and so forth. The overwhelming majority of this is a private business operations running a marina, and from that for the municipality to receive maximal financial benefit, for which we can use for all kinds of other pieces, including community benefit. And so there is important to have community in there, I think, particularly because we need to look at both the benefits to First Nations and to Oak Bay residents, and even the broader regional community. But I do think that specific for this process, specifically for a marina operator, the financial needs to be high, because it is the core piece. Most of what else we touch on, I would argue that, looking at bumping environmental, because that's the only other thing that this really strongly has an impact on, is the environmental piece. So those are the pieces that I would put forward, is that given the nature of this, if we were talking about the upland portion and we're talking about, the broader public access and space, 100% community would be way up there, probably higher. But I think just good to remember what it is we're talking about, which is a lease agreement, operation agreement with a commercial enterprise to run a marina. And for that, we should be seeking the maximum possible revenue. And for that, we should make sure that our weighting reflects that as a priority on here. So I'm not supportive from what I've heard so far, but I'm, of course, have an open mind as to what other points that people raise. I'll go back to the mover, which is Councillor Smart, and then to Councillor Braithwaite.
Thank you. I just wanted to ask a clarifying a question, and just to clarify, I wasn't the mover, but I was a seconder of the motion. But is it possible, Mayor Murdoch, to ask a clarifying question to staff? I was just curious which of these categories, if any of them, specifically include economic prosperity to First Nations, just because it was one of our key goals for the site. And I just wondered if it's possible for staff to comment if that is included under the community or financial category, or if an amendment motion would be in order to specify it under one of those categories. Thank you.
Thank you. I'll turn that question. I think that from council, it was First Nations partnership was our language. Economic prosperity was the First Nations language of what they were seeking for the site. Ms. Bay, can you answer the question about where that fits? Does that fit under community?
Thank you, Your Worship. It's really what council directs. Staff have proposed that the community piece look at the benefits to nations broadly speaking. Some of that could be financial if that's council's directive, but it could also be other types of benefits.
That seems logical. That's the bucket, Councillor Smart.
Thank you, Mayor. Just to clarify, was that the community bucket?
Correct.
Would it be appropriate then to make an amendment to modify to say economic and other benefits to First Nations?
It is, but I need to deal with the motion that's on the floor first, because they're not.
Okay.
Yeah, I need to deal with the percentages as a separate motion. So we can certainly come back
fine.
to you if you
Thank
wish.
you. Thank you.
Mr. Braithwaite?
Thank you, Mayor. And I mean, we hired colliers to who are professionals to come back with what they would support for the weighting. So I really support the colliers' recommendation that they've come back with. And again, community benefits are certainly important, but the marina's first challenge is to ensure it remains financially viable and professionally operated over the long term. A successful marina generates community benefits naturally, I think. And my concern with increasing the community weighting is that it could really place greater emphasis on promises and amenities than on the operator's ability to fund, replace, and maintain critical infrastructure. So if there are any community services that we feel that are essential as a council, I'd rather make those requirements of the lease than alter the evaluation weighting. So again, I will be voting against.
Okay. Councillor Watson, please go ahead.
Thank you. And Mayor, I want to thank you for your comments, because I'm sitting here listening to everybody and mulling this over. And I think that it was important, again, to clarify for the public that this is not about a full site redevelopment. This exercise we're in right now is about finding a new marina operator in under a tight, and I guess quite a tight time frame, so that we can continue to have a marina operating in Oak Bay, which the community, I think, does place high value in, and that we have to get economic return from. So I think I just want to comment that I think that in the public domain, there's still quite a lot of confusion about what this exercise is actually about. And it is about just this particular element of a wider exercise. And so, having heard you speak, I think that I am not in support of the change in the weighting, and that I will not vote in support of the motion. I think that the higher weight on the financial does make sense, given our obligations and financial situation, and our aspirations for a successful marina operation. Thank you.
Thank you. I don't have any other hands. So the motion on the floor is to amend the percentages to 30, 30, 30, 10. So I'll call the question. All those in favor of that change? And those opposed? I have
I was in
Councillor
favor online.
Yeah, Councillor and Councillor,
Sorry, you can't see me, but my hands up. I still can't get, I can't, after I switched between
Opposed is
meetings, I
Councillor
can't get my
Watson.
camera to
Yeah,
work.
Councillor
Yes,
Watson,
I think.
Patterson, Braithwaite, Murdoch. So that motion fails. We're back to the 40, 30, 20, 10 percentages. And Councillor Smart, you raised a point unrelated to the percentages about just, we have some examples there about being a little bit more clarity around the community bucket.
Yes, to add the words economic and other benefits, just to be clear about the interest in economic prosperity to First Nations.
Okay. Is there a seconder for that? Moved and seconded. Thank you. I think you already gave a little mini motivation there, Councillor Smart, but do you add anything else?
Yeah, thank you. I just wanted our criteria to be clear as far as Council's interest in reconciliation and benefits to the First Nations, including economic benefits for prosperity. Thank you.
Okay. Any discussion? Generally speaking, we seek discussion if there's people opposed to those changes. Do I see any? Not seeing any, I'll call the question then on the amendment to include economic and other to bucket under community. All those in favor? Any opposed? I'm not hearing any opposed. That passes. So we're here at the 40, 30, 20, 10 with these buckets. Is there any other suggestion motions for amendment?
I do have another amendment, Councillor Smart online.
Go ahead, Councillor Smart.
I'd like to propose that the operational and the community benefits are equally split 25-25.
Okay, it's so moved. Is there a seconder for that change? Just give a moment for people to, so this would change operational from 30% to 25% and community from 20% to 25%. I don't have any motions or seconders popping up here, so not seeing any. I think that does not, we won't have a debate on that. So we're back to the original pieces. Any other suggestion motions? I'm going to throw it out there. Just I'm not going to make a motion because I tend not to. And I don't know where that percentage would come from, but I kind of wish the environmental was a little higher because I think the long-term environmental benefits of the dock proposal is super important. I think it's one of those areas that has the longest ramifications for this for the proposal, and I think indicating a higher now maybe that comes under risk mitigation, et cetera, a little bit, but I think environment is a really critical piece. So I don't know where that might come from, but maybe from the operational to environment going 25 and 10. I'm just throwing it out there because I do think that the environmental has that really does have a pretty substantive piece. But on the other hand, there may not be much difference between the proposals. So nope, see anybody making a motion, so I'll leave it.
Make that, Murdoch, I'm willing to make that motion.
Well, let me make the motion if you think it's a good one, Councillor Smart. I don't need.
No, I do. I agree with you. I just think I know this is the marina portion, but our community is so passionate about being a leader in sustainability. So I would like to put forward the motion to have the environmental be 15% and the operational to be 25%.
Okay. I'll see if there's a seconder for that. So the motion is to amend operational from 30 to 25 and from environmental from 10 to 15%. Is there a seconder?
Yes,
Go ahead,
yes.
Councillor Watson.
I
Thanks.
think,
I was about to
yes,
say-
I'm seconding that motion.
Okay.
Thank you.
I kind of mini motivated just because I wanted to, out of curiosity, to see if there was other interest. I know it was your motion, Councillor Smart, but if you don't mind, I'll just add to that. Actually, I don't really need to add anything to it. My personal, take of this one. I think the operational is obviously very, very important. We want to make sure that the experience, their plans, their risk mitigations are critical. But to my mind, a big part of that success is going to be the environmental. And so I think if we want that to be prioritized in the proposals, I think we need to bump up from the 10 to 15%. So I'll leave it there. Any other discussion? Councillor Braithwaite?
Yeah, I hear what you're saying. However, I'm going to use the same arguments I used for keeping the weighting before, and I'll be voting against the motion. Thank you.
Okay. Councillor Appleton?
Thank you, Your Worship. Yeah, it does. I will not support the motion on the floor, and it doesn't bring me any happiness to do so. But I think probably because I focus in on two things: both the criticality of having a, competent and experienced operator in order to sign on to a long-term lease, so that we have stability and consistency in the delivery of the marina amenity, which is what the public is really looking for. I think you could also make the argument, in my mind, you can make the argument that, operational skill and operational experience in a marine environment goes somewhat hand in hand with environment. We've seen both groups in their presentations, their presenting materials, present their environmental performance and how they treat that as a key component of operations as sort of fundamental to the way that they work. So I would understand that a highly skilled operator or a professional operator would certainly have environmental compliance and environmental performance as a key performance indicator. So, thank you.
Councillor Patterson, and then I've got go ahead, Councillor Patterson.
Yes, while certainly in spirit this is supportable, I won't in fact support the change because I do think risk mitigation, the operational component, and the operator experience and how they manage, that is all very closely tied to environmental because of the nature of it being marina operation. When I look at the environmental, some of the things that are listed there, what I would be looking under environmental would be exceptional or outstanding performance above perhaps base performance for meeting environmental sustainability. So that's my rationalization. I'm looking for the higher score within the operational component itself.
Okay, any other discussion before I call the question? I probably just want to make one clarifying piece since I was sort of suggested this, and the rationale I had for bumping it is that there is going to be, to increase the environmental benefit, you need to, move from, say, creosote to steel pilings. You need to perhaps have transparent or translucent docks as opposed to opaque, and those all cost capital. And so they might impact negatively the financial, but they might have additional benefit. And so my rationale here was really to make sure that where we're seeing those investments in preferred or exceptional environmental standards, that we can recognize that more. And that was kind of the rationale. So just for that helps clarification. I think this is probably, I won't prejudge where it's going to go. But not seeing any other speakers, I'm going to call the question. All those in favor? And those opposed? I have Councillors Patterson, Braithwaite, Appleton, Green opposed. I didn't record or vote for Councillor Smart or Watson.
I was for the motion.
I'm for the motion.
Okay, so that's 4-3. It fails. So we're back to the original list. Since I was the last gasp effort on that one, I think we're ready to call the question on the main motion. Seeing any other hands, so I'll call the question then. So this is to direct staff to proceed with these categories. All those in favor? Any opposed? None opposed? That carries. Thank you very much, everyone. I now will seek was there any other notices of motion? Then we will get a motion to adjourn. Moved, seconded. All those in favor? I'm going to assume none opposed. Thank you for those for Councillor Watson and Councillor Smart for sticking with us online. And we will see you all again in a few weeks.